Hello, everyone. Welcome to a whole new reaction series. I recently watched the first episode of the show, Carnival. I actually don't know how it's pronounced. Is it pronounced Carnival or Carnivale? I think it's pronounced Carnival, but not 100% sure about how to pronounce it. They don't say it in the episode. You would think that they would say, like, welcome to the Carnivale or Carnival or something, but they don't. But either way, I'm starting to watch this new show. It's an old show from HBO from a long time ago. I think. I think this came out 2000, early 2000s, mid 2000s, somewhere around there. I know nothing about this show. People have told me to watch it over the years. Not a whole lot of people. It's a very like niche show among HBO shows. Like it's not The Sopranos or The Wire. It's like this has a it seems like it's a cult following show. Only 2 seasons. I could tell that from looking it up. But yeah, I went into this not knowing anything about this show. I don't know anything about the history, the creators. I looked it up one time and I was like, oh, it's a show about a carnival in like Dust Bowl 1930s America. So don't know anything about the plot. I don't have any spoilers or anything like that. Going in completely blind here, and I didn't know what to think. I knew it was weird. I had heard people say stuff like, "Oh, it's a weird show." It gave me kind of Twin Peaks vibes, which honestly not too much Twin Peaks vibes because I actually understood this show. Like I could actually tell what a lot of the stuff meant, whereas Twin Peaks I don't really understand Twin Peaks if we're gonna be honest. In fact, they have I think the short guy in this show is the same guy from Twin Peaks, the little demon creature that again I don't know what that means in Twin Peaks, but this show I do kind of get. At least I think I kind of get what they're going for with a lot of this stuff. So, what is this first episode? It introduced us to the main character, Ben Hawkins, I think his name is. It takes me a little while to learn everyone's names, guys, but it introduces us to Ben. He's a poor kid growing up on a farm in the middle of the Dust Bowl, Oklahoma. The bank's coming to foreclose his house. His mom dies, and he's trying to give her a burial. And it just so happens that this traveling carnival stops by and sees them as they're passing through. They help the kid out, bury his mom, and then he passes out, and they like take him with them to continue on with their travels in the carnival. This carnival is supernatural. It's very clear early on that there's like stuff like these people. It's not just it's like a freak show carnival, but like a lot of these people have powers and stuff. They're psychic. They're magic. We don't know. I don't know the full story yet, but there's a supernatural element to it. And this one guy can like read people's dreams or read their mind or something. And he sees like when he reads Ben's mind, he sees all this horrible stuff. I don't know yet whether this is stuff that happened to him or is it stuff that's going to happen in the future. We open with this really weird vision of like it's like a recurring dream he has of this weird tattoo guy chasing someone through a field. We get some imagery of like it seems like World War I, which has already happened, obviously. So I don't think this Ben kid, he looks too young to observe because this is taking place in like 1934. The World War I ends in like the early 20s. He doesn't look like he could observe. He doesn't look like he'd have to be in like his 30s. This kid looks like his early 20s. So I don't know. Maybe he did serve. I don't know. But again, it's not clear what these visions mean yet. But there's like this darkness hanging on this kid. He wakes up. He's freaked out to be in a carnival. So he runs away. Ends up kind of coming back because he saves this one gypsy girl. It's the doctor lady from Better Call Saul. But he saves her from being raped by these like I don't know redneck townies or whatever. and it's revealed at the end of the episode that he's got powers. Like they do this tarot card reading, and he has a flashback to when he was a kid, and like he had a little kitten that died, and they buried it for like 3 days ago, and the corpse is like rotting and stuff, and the cat comes back to life at his touch. So. And this freaks out his mom. His mom seems very religious. She's like, what God takes, it's not for you to bring back. So and that kind of explains the beginning. The mom like didn't seem to like the son. She's like, "Don't touch me." So it's like, yeah, she didn't want him to use his powers on her. At the end of the episode, he fixes this little girl's like polio legs or whatever. She can't walk basically, and he fixes them. But we see that they're on a little farm, and all the crops that were growing wilt. The entire farm, like all their crops are destroyed. So their daughter gets the power of her legs back, which is great, but it's gonna come at a cost that like this family could like be broke and be starving and stuff. I mean, this is the middle of again the depression, the Dust Bowl. So there's a cost associated with his powers, and I was left wondering at the end of the episode, like, did maybe he cause the kind of crop failures and stuff that we see in the Dust Bowl, stuff like that? I don't know. We'll have to see, but yeah, it seems like I can see why he'd be hesitant to use his powers. I don't know if he knows that, if he knows the full cost of what happened. We don't know what happened with the cat. Like he brought the cat back to life, but we don't know if there was like a deep cost to it. I thought for a minute maybe that's what killed the mother, but that happened when he was a little kid, and now he's a grown up. So I don't know. That doesn't seem to track with like the immediate kind of death we see with the crops. But we'll have to see. It's only the first episode, but an interesting one for sure. We also have a side plot happening with this priest, Clancy Brown, the voice of Lex Luthor in the Superman cartoons. But he plays a priest. Don't know what his deal is, but he has visions too. And Ben has a vision of him at the end, which I think this priest is probably the bad guy. If I'm just kind of going off of the imagery that we saw, he doesn't seem bad. He doesn't seem like he's particularly malicious in any way, but he has these like visions of stuff, and he's like very religious. At the beginning, the short guy was talking about how there's constantly a battle between the forces of good and evil, and I'm thinking probably Ben is the good one and this priest is the bad one. He seems to have some kind of supernatural powers too, or at least some kind of like he's touched by the supernatural. I'm hoping they don't go down the route of like he's an evil priest kind of thing, because I find that trope just so played out. Not even that I'm offended like religiously. I'm not religious. I just find it like, oh, isn't that cute? We turned it on its head. The priest is the bad one, and these other people are the good ones. It's like it's very, I don't know. It's a very played out trope. I hope they do something more interesting than just like he's the evil one. Again, it doesn't seem like he's outright evil so far. At least I haven't seen any hints that he's particularly malicious. Maybe we will get that later, but it seemed like he wanted to help his church. It seemed like he was genuinely devout, but that's what leads him down the path of darkness. Or maybe he's not evil at all. I really don't know. But just given that it's Clancy Brown, he always plays villains. I have a sense that he'll be a force in this show, especially since he's the only side character. Every other character is happening in the Carnivàle, so it makes sense that the one other character we're highlighting here is going to play a significant role in the series. So anyway, we'll see. Again, no insight into what's going to happen. I am completely blind to spoilers on this. I'm not going to release this till I finish the series, so no danger of spoilers there, but just thought I would document this journey with you guys, because this does seem like a show I'm going to be interested in. There's some shows that I watch where I'm just like, I don't, like, it doesn't seem like there's anything there for me to really be interested in. Even from this first episode, I was like, okay, there's something interesting happening. I don't know if it'll be a great series or a mediocre one. We'll have to see, but I do want to keep watching and keep going. So I'll document that process with you guys. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode coming up right after this. So see you guys then. Hello, everyone. Back with another reaction to Carnivàle. I'm just gonna call it Carnivàle. I've not heard the name spoken out loud in the show, but I'm gonna assume it's Carnivàle. Just watched the second episode after the ball is over, and yeah, each episode keeps getting more interesting. Like, the show does a really good job of like pacing out the mystery, where there's a lot of just normal stuff that happens, like a lot of like character stuff, a lot of interactions between the carnies and stuff like that. Not all of it is like you don't understand the full context right away, but it's not all just weirdness and mystery and stuff like that. There is that element to it, and there's a lot of it I don't understand at all yet. I think I will, because it's kind of shown what some of the things mean so far, and I think that the rest of the stuff, it will explain what it all meant eventually. Not to say they won't leave stuff up for interpretation, but it's not all just weird imagery. There is like a method to the madness, so to speak. So in this episode, it's they're at a new town, they're setting up again. We get a scene with Ben. He seems to be like inexperienced around women, like the girls are like teasing him, and he gets kind of defensive about it. There's some weirdness in this episode with like what he's interested in. I was watching this with my wife, and she was saying that like it seemed like he was attracted to older ladies, because there's a scene where there's this older woman who she has him go get something from her I don't know what they call it, not a tent, but her little trailer. And he's like sniffing her perfume and stuff, which I didn't know if that meant that he was like interested in her, or maybe she just reminds him of his mom or something. He's got some kind of mommy issues. We saw that in the first episode, and there's more of it that happens in this one. Like, they were obviously setting up something with him and Sophie. Like, they're the two, characters of the same age, the same kind of situation. So I have a feeling that something's going to happen between them, but who knows? But either way, he's for being a person with sort of divine powers, he's very awkward, which I guess makes sense. I think his powers have kind of isolated him. Probably he doesn't feel comfortable around people. But he also is kind of like normal in the sense that he's like just an awkward kid, defensive about certain stuff, kind of rude at times too. Like, he was insulting Sophie's mom, which I was like, I get it. He's creeped out by this woman who can't like move at all, but he also knows he's got like godlike powers. And I'm like, I don't know, is this really gonna freak you out when you could bring people back from the dead? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of weird. He's like at times like a really normal kid, and at times, he's got divine powers or whatever. They don't explain what the powers are yet, but we get some more context in this episode. So she the mother of Sophie, who again is psychic, like she can move stuff, she can talk to Sophie, but she can't, like, apparently she can't move her body. She walks up to him and is like, you are the one, you're the chosen one, whatever, and then immediately collapses, and everyone's like freaking out because they thought he did something to her, because again, no one else knows she can walk. But the owner, or I don't know if he's the owner or not, but the dwarf guy, he's the leader. I wasn't 100% clear on that in the first episode, but it's very clear in this episode he's the leader of the Carnivàle. And he works for something called management. I don't know what it is. I have a theory it's God, but I don't know that for certain yet. But it seems like there's some kind of like godlike being orchestrating some of these events. Maybe it's the reason behind the powers or whatever. But this management is, I guess, directing them. We've never seen them. There's something like ominous and mysterious about, quote unquote management, but we just don't know anything about them yet. But the dwarf guy knows that something is going on here. They're supposed to head north, but they're heading south, which people are not happy about. One, for like just normal reasons, like it's gonna be hot, but it seems like there's some dark thing about going south that at least the leader guy is worried about. So we'll have to see. I really don't know. At the beginning, Ben is going through a baggage truck. As it was a prank. There is no baggage truck, but he actually finds it, and he finds this picture of a woman, and we don't know who she is at first, but it's revealed at the end it is a picture of his mom when she was younger, and it was owned by some guy named Scudder, who they reference him in the episode. They say he's not dead. Again, seems kind of ominous when they're talking about him in the context, but this Scudder was, I guess his mom was Scudder's girl, so he might be his dad. And apparently, the visions he's been having about World War I, it's not him. It might be his dad. It seems like there's multiple figures there, and also a bear. I don't know what the bear means. He sees the hat at the end that the bear was wearing, like a Russian dancing bear hat. Don't know what that means at all. But I'm sure they'll explain it later. But yeah, there's mysterious things going on here at the carnival, and we also get more stuff with the priest, Justin. I think his last name is Crow, but he's leading this congregation. He has the visions just like Ben does, and he actually knows he's got power. So I wasn't sure at first what that meant in the first episode when the woman was like vomiting up coins and stuff like that. Was that like really happening? Was it just a vision he was having? I wasn't sure what that meant, but it's very clear that he knows he can, I don't know the full extent of it, but he can at least like give people visions and show them stuff, because there's this one guy who owns that Chin's like gambling prostitution den from the first episode, and he's walking him, like he's showing him a vision of what he did there, the owner, and it's a oh my god, we opens the door and it's like he's gonna have sex with someone, and you think it's like a prostitute or something, something he's ashamed about, but it's like a little boy, and you're just like, Jesus Christ. He donates the place to the priest. The priest wants it as his new church, and then the guy kills himself. So it's very clear from this episode that the priest is a malignant figure. I don't know that 100%, but it seems like at the end there he's like talking to like an imaginary crowd and being like, we're gonna purge the world of evil kind of stuff. So I just assume he's the villain. It makes sense. He's Clancy Brown. They also did some stuff this episode to show he's like a weirdo. Like he's watching his sister naked at one point. He's like whipping himself at the end of the episode. It's like, I had to remember that this show came out a while ago. Let me look it up. I think it's like early 2000s. 2003 to 2005. So I had to remember that some of this stuff probably was more original when it first came out. I was complaining before last time that I was like, oh wow, an evil priest who's actually a hypocrite, and he's actually the one who's a sexual deviant and crazy and stuff like that. Like, I've seen that trope so many times now that I'm just sick of it. I gotta remember that in like 2003, this was probably like, oh my god, the priest is the bad guy, and that's, you know, it's different when they do it now. So I'll accept it. Again, I don't know where they're gonna go with this character. Maybe they'll make him very interesting. I don't know, but seems so far that he's gonna be the antagonistic force. I think there's something of like, there's a good figure and a bad figure, and they're gonna fight over, you know, the battle between good and evil. There's a scene in the beginning where the waitress is talking about all prophets in their house, sort of thing. Maybe he's a false prophet. I don't know. We'll have to see. But overall, every episode I'm like, damn, I'm actually like into this. Like, I'm really curious what's gonna happen. But I can follow it. It's not too confusing. I'm only watching one episode a day. This is not a show I want to binge watch. I want to sit with it, let the imagery and the themes kind of sit with me for a while. But really good show. So thank you guys for actually recommending this to me, because I'm very interested to see where we go from here. Anyway, thank you, and stay tuned for the next episode coming up here. Hey, what's up, everyone? Back with another Carnival reaction. And I just watched the third episode of the first season, Tipton. Now, this is an interesting episode. So, each episode, we're getting some more information and stuff's starting to make a little more sense. So, they stop at this town, the Carnival, but they're told they can't set up a carnival. The local sheriff apparently knows them. He knows they kind of rip people off and stuff, and this town is poor, so he's like, no, you can't set up. So they come up with a scam to host a like revival Christian evangelical kind of thing with Ben as a healer. Now, the reason they do this is because in town, someone recognized Ben as like who healed that little girl. Um, so I don't understand what's happening. So they were headed north, and I guess they headed back down south again. So are they just stopping off at the same town they did before, where he healed that little girl in the first episode? Because that's how they knew it was him. Or maybe it's just another town nearby or something like that. That there's like crossover there. But I don't know how these people then don't they recognize the carnival? But I don't know. I guess maybe they were kind of wearing disguises in this episode, so maybe they didn't notice them. But regardless, the point is he gets recognized. They think he's a healer. He is a healer, but they think he is a healer too. And they decide to host this again like fake. It's like a fake like healing ceremony thing, which is, I mean, it's real in the sense that he can heal, but they're faking it because they don't know he can actually heal. Which I'm curious though about, like I'm not exactly sure what the carnival people know about Ben, because it seems like they treat him like he's just like, oh, he's just a rube, he's just a normal little kid. But it also seems like they know he's connected to like Hack Scudder and the woman who's his mother, and the guy who read his dreams sees that there's a powerful force. The mom of Sophie knows something about him. She's like talking about him all the time. So I'm not exactly sure what they know about him and his powers. I imagine a lot of the normal carnival people don't know about all that stuff, but definitely some of the key people there, it seems like they know he's more than just a normal kid. Again, to what extent they know about it, I don't know, but it's just, again, they're kind of acting like, oh, haha, we're just running this fake show, and it's like, do they know he actually has real powers? I don't know, but he does the healing, and then he goes into town, and he sees the truck that was on the picture of his mom with his mom's picture, and he goes to the house that it's owned by, and that woman who owns that house knew a Hack Scudder, who I think is his father. I mean, they haven't said that, but I'm pretty sure it's his father. And he has the gift too. And so this woman explicitly acknowledges his gift, and she acknowledges the rules that like it takes life to heal people. So if he heals someone, it's going to cost life from something else. It doesn't have, it could be plants, it could be an animal, or it could be a human being. So there's it's a blessing and a curse, as she says in this episode. So interesting stuff that we're getting more and more of it as we go on. She also mentions at the end of the episode Babylon. That's where Scudder went to, and that's where they're headed to. That's where they're headed south. Now, I didn't know if that's a real place. Forgive me, I'm not familiar with all American cities. I don't know if there's a specific place called Babylon in America, or if it's just like a metaphorical Babylon, or it's a nickname for some place. I don't know what they mean by that yet. But there's obviously going to be... I wonder if it's that town where Justin Crow is, the priest. We get another thing with him. Not too much, honestly, this episode. It's actually, his role is very minor. He set up the church at Chin's. The city says they don't want him there. They offer him another place, but he wants that spot. And then he's like, no. And then the guy who was local politician is corrupt, starts like he can't breathe. They don't do anything with that. We don't see him die. I thought they would have a scene of like Justin being like, you will let us have this place, and give him a vision of him of his sins and stuff like that to convince him. But Maybe that'll happen next episode. I don't know, but it honestly felt incomplete. Justin's story this episode. It's like they set up a problem, but they didn't actually pay it off in this episode. So a little bit weird there. But I'm wondering if that's the town where Justin is, because we know that the carnival is going to eventually reach Justin. Like they're clearly setting up something here, and there's going to be some kind of shit's going to happen when Justin meets Ben. There's going to be something, I don't know. I mean, they're not diametrically opposed yet, but they had that shared vision of the coffee house in that restaurant. So all the profits in this house thing. So I imagine that's where they'll meet. And also, I just realized that I think Scudder was there and someone else who I'm not 100% sure about. I don't recognize all the names and faces yet, guys. It takes me a while to get everyone down, but we'll see what happens. For a minute there, I thought the old lady in the house was his mom in the flashback, but it turns out it wasn't her. So anyway, that's the episode. Interesting one. We're slowly unraveling stuff. There's some funny scenes in this one. There's a funny scene between him and Sophie when Sophie's trying to run him over with the truck. There's one. I laughed when they named him Benjamin St. John, because it sounds more religious and stuff like that. So there's a lot of good humor in the show too. It's not all just weird stuff like Twin Peaks. Even again, the show really reminds me of Twin Peaks, but like I it's much more engaging to me. Like I actually can really follow what a lot of this stuff means. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot about this. One, I never talked about the title sequence. It's okay. I found it a little dreary. It doesn't, like, it's not really that cool. Like, it's cool, but it's like I would never like listen to this. It's not like, if it had a little bit more upbeat, like, you could still be weird with the title sequence, but it was very like dreary, kind of angsty music in the title sequence that I don't watch it. I just skip it each time. I don't find it that engaging. But the music, it kept bothering me when I listened to the score of this show. I was like, this sounds so familiar. And it turns out it's Jeff Beal, the guy who did Rome's music and also House of Cards. And literally, in this episode, the scene where Justin goes into the hallway, it's like he put the music from Rome, HBO, and the title music from House of Cards. It's literally in this episode, and this is way before House of Cards. So he literally just reused this song that he made for Carnivàle. I think he won an Emmy for this. I was looking up Jeff Beal earlier. And he used that for the title sequence of House of Cards. Like I can't play it for you guys; it'll get copyrighted. But just if you watch this episode again, look it up. It's like that is literally the theme song from House of Cards. So random cool detail. I googled to see if anyone else talked about that, but yeah, it's literally the same music. But definitely cool. So either way, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode coming up. Hello, what's up everyone? Back with another reaction, and I just watched the 4th episode of season 1, Black Blizzard. Really cool episode. I didn't know what black blizzards were. I looked it up after this, and it's a real thing in the Dust Bowl. It's like these storms that would happen. So I really like the Dust Bowl aesthetic. I didn't know at first how much they were going to lean into it, or if this was just going to be kind of the same as any other, 1930s-ish era show. But they really do lean into, like, the imagery and, like, the feeling of the Dust Bowl. Like, this feeling of helplessness, this feeling of destruction. There's a scene in this when he's talking with Lots about his mother's death. And it's, like, the wind, the shrieking of the wind and the dust. It's, like... It's very spooky, and it's very evocative, and I really like the aesthetic of the whole world here. It's not just another 1930s show. It's like very specific to the Dust Bowl era, so I like that a lot. But Not a lot happens in this episode. Like, this is not a plot heavy episode, but it's very, very character rich. Um, we got essentially four storylines happening during this episode. While the Dust Bowl happen, or while the blizzard happens, they're stuck where they are. Each of the different characters. Ben is with the guy who can't see, Lodst, and he's teaching him about his powers a little bit. He's like showing him that he can control stuff. There's a scene where Ben makes the storm stop for a moment. He even says like only God can stop the weather. So there's a hint that like again his powers are godlike. Again, we don't know what Lodst wants. He seems a little sinister. Ben doesn't seem to trust him. He's talking about what's going to happen when they reach Babylon, and it's confirmed. I mean, it's not confirmed, but we hear the other Carnies talking about Babylon that they don't. A lot of them don't believe in it. So it's not like a city, like a city on the map. It's a place shrouded in myth. So we don't know what's there yet. We'll see. But it's gonna be something's gonna happen. So that's going on. Meanwhile, in town, Sophie goes into town. I wasn't 100% sure what she was doing. I think the idea was that she went into town to like to like flirt with a guy and like tell him like a fake story about her background. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Marie in Breaking Bad, how she would go to like the open houses and lie about her history. Maybe it's just a game she does when she's bored. She even says that like she usually doesn't take it too far, but she gets stuck there with this guy in the bar or in his like diner, and they end up sleeping together. And at the end of the episode, she says that the guy was married. He lied and said he wasn't married. I don't know. It's her storyline is the weakest in this episode because one, I wasn't really sure what she was doing, and two, I don't know what conclusion I'm meant to walk away with. Am I supposed to feel like I guess we're just judging the guy for lying to have sex with her, but she wanted to have sex with him again. I wasn't quite sure the meaning behind Sophie's story in this episode. It was just kind of something that happened. It could have been a little bit more clear what the takeaway is supposed to be compared to what's happening with Samson. So Samson, that's his storyline is very clear. He goes to see a whore that he knows in town. They sleep together. The storm happens. He gets stuck in her house with his driver, just one of the carnies who works for him. And the carnies like gives $2 to the woman, and they go have sex. And then Samson's pissed off, like he's stewing down there because he can hear them having sex upstairs. And it's clear Samson's got like feelings for this woman. I mean, it's a hooker John relationship, but he feels jealous that she's sleeping with this other guy right in front of him. So when she comes back down, he's like all mean to her. He's like offering her money to have sex with him again. She ends up doing it just to spite Samson. And then when they're leaving, she's like, don't come back again when you come back in town. So he kind of messed up his relationship because of jealousy. Again, it's a very kind of male thing. It's like he's very like, possessive. Even though he doesn't have a relationship with this woman, he feels like the instinctual jealousy there and makes it worse by kind of acting like a jackass. So I really like this storyline with Samson. I like that we're giving him some character outside of just the plot of the carnival or whatever. It's like I said, there's not a lot of plot happens in this episode, but it's some very rich character stuff for a lot of these characters. The one exception was Sophie. Again, her storyline wasn't that great. But on the other side, we have with Justin. He gets a letter from his ministry. I'm not sure what specific faith he is. I don't know if he's Catholic. I don't think he is. It's First Methodist Church, but I've heard a lot of churches called Methodist. Maybe it's a Methodist church. Maybe I'm just being stupid, but I've heard the name Methodist being applied to churches. So yeah, it might be a number of different things. But regardless, he gets a letter from the governing body of the church, and they're like, hey, you're neglecting your regular church in favor of this new one you're opening without anyone's permission. And they tell him he's got to go back, and go back to his normal job. He can't keep doing this. He's pissed off. His sister kind of tries to talk him down, but he ends up kind of using his powers on her. I'm not clear if he did or not, but the way the lighting was, it reminded me the exact same way he did with that pedophile guy in the first or second episode. So I don't know what. Okay, so at the end of the episode, the ministry burns down their church they set up there, and it roasts all the kids alive who are staying there. And I'm not sure what happened. I think maybe the sister set the fire, and I'm not sure why. I'm thinking that one again, there's a lot of ways you can interpret this show. It's very mysterious. It's like Twin Peaks. I'm thinking that like he maybe inadvertently or on purpose. I don't know which. He used his powers on her. She saw all the horrible stuff that happens to children because he was telling her what happens to children. They get abused, they get molested, they get all this stuff. And she burned down the church to kill them, to like, because if the church got shut down and they had to go back out into the world, they would be abused. So that's kind of my reading. I don't know if that's correct, but and even if it is, again, I'm not sure whether Justin knew he was doing that. Is that the outcome that he wanted, to spare them from being hurt again, or is it an accidental use of his powers because he doesn't know how to control them yet? I don't even know if he knows he's got powers yet, but like, because Ben absolutely knows he's got magical powers. Like, Justin might just be thinking like it's God's doing. I don't know, it might be, but not sure on his side what is actually happening yet. So I'm sure we'll get more context in the next episode. But very good character focused episode here. I really liked it a lot, and we will check out the next one soon. So talk with you guys then. Hey everyone, back with another reaction, and I just watched the 5th episode of the first season, Babylon. So they finally arrive at the at Babylon where they've been headed to, and I'm just gonna say up front about this episode, this one does not feel like a complete episode to me. I don't know if it's like a 2-parter or whatever. It doesn't say like part 1 or whatever, so. But it definitely feels like we ended in the middle of a story, and I imagine next episode is going to pick up where this one left off, because, for building up to this location that they've been talking about for a while, like, stuff happens, but not a lot is explained at all. So they arrive in this town, Babylon. Again, I'm not 100% sure if that's the real name or that's just what they call it. Or it might be the name of the mine that's in the town or something. I don't know. But they don't really want to be there. A lot of people are unhappy. And Samson takes them out drinking at a bar in town. And the town is very weird. Although I'm not sure yet what the explanation is. Like, there's this guy leaving the town when they come in. But then he's the bartender later. And they're like, oh, looks like you didn't get far out of town. And he's like, I never do. Which, I don't know. Is this town like purgatory or something where they're stuck in there forever kind of thing? Don't know. I don't know. But the town's weird and awkward. We get a scene with Sophie and one of the dancer girls. There's like these 2 daughters of like the dancer woman, and they dance naked too. And she and Sophie have like a friendship, which I thought was kind of nice. I was like, oh, I like that they're showing more of the relationships between the carnies. It's felt like everyone's kind of siloed into their specific relationships. Like, you've got Samson and Josie, you've got Lodst and the bearded woman. You've got, some of these other people, and it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. They're having a little crossover here where it's like these 2 girls can be friends. We get some more stuff with Sophie. That might have been the first time she had sex. or she said it was her first time having sex. Um, Again, I'm not exactly clear. Okay, so I'm more and more getting that like what she did last episode was just, I guess, maybe teenage acting out, like, she's trying to experience the world. Her mother is very much trying to limit her and keep her in like safety or whatever, I guess. And having sex with that guy was her way of kind of, getting out there and having a connection with other people like she's trying to have with this other girl. And the mother doesn't like it. I don't know if it's because the mother knows something because she's psychic, but or maybe she's just being an overprotective mom. Jonesy is not the her father, though. I thought for a little bit he was her father or something. But I think he's into her, but she's not into him. But regardless, so we're getting some more stuff with Sophie here. Um, we the town that they're in, like I said, it's very weird. When they open the carnival, the people are acting very strange. They're very like cold, very quiet. They're not really talking a lot. They do talk. They're not. I thought for a minute they were all like zombies or something, but they're not. They end up attacking one of the daughters when she's doing her naked striptease show, um, and they don't rape her. They like the dad saves her, but then later at the end of the episode, she's strung up like and with like the word harlot carved on her forehead. Um, Not sure. I'm not sure what's happening here. Okay, so at the beginning of the episode, Justin Crowe, who doesn't appear in this episode, but we hear his voiceover talking about Babylon, and I don't know if it sounds like it's from the Bible. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't read most of the Bible, so I don't know if this is from there, but it sounds like he's talking about the Babylon, the ancient city, and like it's a city of sin and stuff like that. And I don't know if what happened here is part of like the more mystical side of this show. Is it part of like the whole religious stuff? Is it part of management's plan or whatever? Or is it a town of like weirdos who are, I don't know, something about the mine is, and that's where Ben is the whole episode. He gets drunk, he wakes up in the mine, he sees Scudder down there, but he doesn't get to interact with him. He gets like one sentence and then he's just wandering through the dark again, which again is why I keep saying like this episode does not feel complete. It feels like halfway through the story, which, fair point. Maybe next episode is a continuation of the story, but they're not advertising this as like a two-parter episode. So I felt a little, after the episode ended, I was just like, that's it. So we'll see what happens with what's going on with the death of this girl, what's going on with this town, what's going on with the mines, what's going on with Scudder, who people know him there. He's, it's not just, it doesn't seem like it's just a dream sequence. It's like, no, it seems like he's actually there. So, or he used to be there. So we'll see where they go. But again, it's hard for me to make definitive conclusions because again, it feels like we stopped halfway through the episode here. But I'll give it a chance. We'll see where it goes next episode. But I wish, as a whole, this one would have been a little bit more contained. I'm also thinking as I watch this that like, I don't know how much I would get on a rewatch. I think a lot of this show is built up around mystery, and sure, I bet I'll notice some signs and like foreshadowing for certain reveals and stuff if I did a rewatch once I finish the series. But this seems like a kind of show that's best watched like you're gonna get the most enjoyment from the first time you watch it, because so much of it is mystery driven, and mystery shows tend to have less rewatchability because once you know what it's all leading to, you're like, the characters are okay for the most part, but they're not like that strong of characters. It's their service is in the greater mystery of the show. So, and then once that's gone, it's harder to replace. But we'll have to see where it's all leading up to. I don't know how many episodes there are. I imagine 10. That's just usually what HBO does. maybe 13. Again, this is back in the day where they used to do more episodes, so maybe 13. Um, so I don't know where we are in terms of like the season, like at what percentage of the season is completed yet. Because I'm trying to avoid any kind of information about this show, but um, I'll just leave it there. We'll pick it up next episode and see how the story continues. So, talk to you guys then. Hey, what's up, everyone? Back with another Carnivàle reaction. And I just watched the 6th episode of season 1, Pick a Number. And this is very much a continuation of last episode. You really should look at these 2 episodes as like one episode, like one extra long episode, which I was thinking maybe they should have named it like just Babylon Part 1 and Part 2, but I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't have fit the thematic nature of the show, but um yeah, so we continue off with where we left off last episode. Obviously, Dora May was killed. You know, a lot of times, I realize the show's gone a long time without actually introducing me to these characters' names. Because, like, I was saying last episode, the sister who was friends with Sophie, I didn't know her name. I kept calling her the sister, but her name is Libby. And I don't think they've said her name out loud. Maybe it was in the captions of, like, you know, when the characters talk. If you're watching on like a, you know, streaming service, you can see it. But yeah, a lot of these characters' names are not told to you outright, and I didn't know this Dora May girl's name until this episode. So again, maybe they said, I just didn't pay attention. But so regardless, they have her funeral. They're obviously, you know, sad that she's gone, but also they want revenge for one of their own being killed. And so they go into town with a big posse and guns and stuff, but no one's there. The whole town is empty. So they're like, you know, what the fuck? Eventually, after the funeral, they find one of the guys, the guy from the beginning, wandering the town. He's the bartender. He was the only one who was there. They find him. They capture him. They bring him back, and they have this ritual of carnival justice. So there's a wagon. Don't know what the purpose of the wagon is. In fact, even Lods tells Ben that like none of them know the purpose. It's just part of their ritual. And so they have this revolver, and they tell him to pick a number 1 through 3. And the number is how many times they're gonna shoot him. It's like Russian roulette, and how many times they're gonna pull the trigger to see whether he lives or dies. So I guess if you pick the number 6. You just dead. But regardless, they do that. He kind of confesses to the crime. I was a little confused if he was the one who actually did it. Essentially, what happened is all those men from before are ghosts. It's revealed at the end of the episode that like Henry Scudder, Hack Scudder, was there. He worked in the mines. He killed someone. We don't know why. And then when the townspeople were going to string him up, or the miners were going to string him up, he caused a mining collapse and killed the entire town except for the one guy, the bartender. And every night they come back as ghosts, and I guess it's implied the reason why the bartender killed the girl is because there's no women in the town, and if you die there in Babylon, your spirit gets trapped there. And the implication is that this poor girl is now trapped there, essentially being passed around by all these miners for eternity. So that's obviously a very dark thought. They pull the trigger 3 times on him. He lives. They want to keep going and kill him, but it's their code not to do that, so they return him back. But later, Samson goes there, talks to him again. That's when this guy tells him what happened with Hank Scudder, and then he kills him anyway. So I wasn't sure whether this guy did it. I thought maybe the ghosts did it, but I guess the implication is that this guy did kill her in order to trap her spirit there to appease these miners. So I guess they wouldn't come back again. They'll be happy again, just passing this girl around for eternity. Although I was confused by 2 points. 3 points actually. One, why did he carve harlot into her head? We don't see that at the end when she's a ghost, so it obviously didn't transfer onto her soul or something. So it wasn't part of appeasing these spirits. I don't know why he carved it into her. Again, maybe he's just a piece of shit and that's just how he viewed her. But if it was part of this plan for the spirits or whatever, I don't know why he carved that into her. It kind of seems like a dramatic flourish for the TV show. Two, I don't know why he couldn't leave. So remember in the first episode, when he's at the bar, he's like, "Oh yeah, I never seem to get away from the town." So I don't know if he's trapped there too, but it seems like he's not because he didn't want to die there and trap his soul forever. So he's not one of these spirits trapped there. So I don't know why he couldn't just leave. Maybe they'll explain some of this stuff later, but for right now, I'm still confused about that. And three, what happened to that theater operator guy? It wasn't this guy. There was another guy there who also apparently wasn't dead because he was out and about during the day. So I don't know, unless I don't know, maybe he's a spirit too, that his spirit can come out again. There's a lot of open questions at the end of this. Maybe they will keep explaining stuff because obviously they're not done with Scudder, but it left me with a lot. It didn't feel like a clean ending like a lot of the other ones done, where I was like, oh, okay, I get what's happening. And it's not just a level of ambiguity about like what's the larger meaning of this. Sure, all the episodes have that trait, but this one I was still confused about, like, wait, how does this work? It's not actually really clear. It seems like there's it feels like there's mistakes in this rather than intentional ambiguity. But again, maybe it'll all be clear if I watch more episodes. But for now, I was like, I had open questions that I felt should have been answered at the end of this. Like the stuff with Ben and the dream sequence he has where he's in World War I and there's a bear in the trench. I'm okay with that not being explained yet because it's obviously they're going to go back to that. But these plot points from before feel like the show just kind of forgot about them or missed them. So we will have to see. But overall, I mean, a good 2-part episode here where you do feel like you're getting to know these characters more, and I appreciate that. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, Jonesy finally confronts Samson about management not being there. Samson tells him that management can make himself not seen, which I believe. I think there is a management person. And Jonesy was talking about quitting, but at the end he decides to stick around. He's kind of stepping up as more of a leader of the carnival. And they do say carnival a few times in this episode, so I think that is how it's pronounced, carnival. But I don't know. Overall, I'm curious to see where it goes from here. I wonder if the questions I had left will be answered later, or if it's just like, I don't know. But we'll have to see. So, either way, still excited for more episodes. Thank you guys for listening to this, and I'll talk to you next episode. Hey, what's up, everyone? Back with another Carnivàle reaction. And I just watched the 7th episode, I think it was, of the first season. I forgot what it's called, but regardless, this episode, again, not a huge plot episode. We get some more reveals actually about Justin, and he's been noticeably absent. In fact, I don't even remember if I talked about it last time, but he went out on the road essentially as a homeless person. And I wondered if it was part of a plan or not, because he ends up talking with this like journalist who has like a news show, and the story of what happened to him spreads throughout the country, and it gets him very famous. Like all the whole, or maybe not the whole country, all of California is paying attention to his story. And in this episode, the news reporter guy goes to the town where he's from, meets with the sister, and essentially kind of helps her they're like they're doing a news show. They interview the local politician and essentially raise money for a new church, which I didn't know if that was part of Justin's plan or not, or maybe it is part of a greater plan, but he's not even aware of it. This show is as it's gone on, it's been a little bit more confusing. Like I wasn't sure what's intentional or is not intentional, which that might be the intention, to confuse me. But it just it kind of feels like they're just kind of stringing the viewer along for some of this stuff. A great example is we get this like a dream sequence type thing where Justin jumps off a bridge, washes up on shore with a broken leg, sees these two Russian children, and they kill him, but it turns out it wasn't really him. It's Justin was the little boy and his sister was the little girl. They're two Russian immigrants who survived a train wreck, and that's when I guess Justin discovered he had powers, because he uses powers to twist this neck of the person you thought was Justin in the dream sequence, but it turns out it was just a different guy who I guess maybe is their father, because they were talking about the father in the dream sequence. But my whole point with any of this is like, okay, we're getting some stuff about Justin's backstory, but the way the dream sequence is framed, it's like you can't know that the boy is Justin. You can't even suspect that, like, oh, this is him when he was younger, because he's in the scene, right? It's like if we were just seeing a dream sequence and we're like, oh, okay, maybe I can make the leap that this is Justin, but no, because he's the one with the broken leg instead of his father. It's like essentially just tricking the viewer. So I wasn't a fan of this dream sequence, because it's like I felt like I can follow and get the hints of what some of the deeper meaning of this stuff is naturally, but not when the sequence is essentially lying to me and presenting a false reality of what things actually are. So I don't know what this reveal about Justin's character means for the greater thing. Like, okay, they're Russian immigrant children, not they're not the puritanical religious people we thought they were. It's an assumed identity. But I question then, like, am I meant to question all of the scenes I've seen before of Justin, where he's like a deeply devout religious man, or not? It's and there's a line at the end that makes me think that like maybe he wasn't aware of this. It's like it came to him. It's like a repressed memory that came to him in this moment. So I guess the implication maybe is that the sister always knew about this, but she repressed his memory. Maybe with powers, maybe not. I don't know. So again, it's not. I don't love this reveal because it doesn't explain some of Justin's behavior. It just adds more questions to it, without really like advancing his character. This doesn't explain why he was so devoutly religious. It just it raises a question of why he thinks he's Justin Crow. And again, maybe he always knew about that and he was just faking, but I don't think that at least it's not clear that was the answer to me at this point in the story. But back on in terms of the Carnivàle, very much still focused on the Dreyfus family, which I liked. I liked that we're following through on some of the emotional conclusions of last episode. So the dad and the daughter do not want to keep doing their peep show type thing that they're doing. The daughter wants to go to California. Sophie is going to go with them too at one point, but the mom still wants to stay there. Partially, I think because it's a practical reason. Like she said, it's like the chances of them making it to Hollywood and being famous are very low. But two, I think she's very much comfortable in the Carnivàle world and she doesn't want to change things up. And ultimately, the dad decides to stay there with the mom. The daughter's heartbroken, but it very much reminded me of like how people, they talk a lot of stuff about wanting to change, but in their hearts they want to kind of stick with the status quo. At the end there, Sophie's even like, we could just steal the car and go, this is just the two of us. But then Libby even is like, no, my daddy doesn't like it when someone touches his car, so she gets out and goes back. It's like they were never really planning on leaving. It's like the mom was right. It's just a dream that they have, but they're not really willing to see it through. And there's a lot of hints that they wouldn't have been successful. Like Sophie, when she read their cards, lied and was like, "Oh yeah, you'll be really successful," but it's clear like they wouldn't have been. And the mom knew that too. Like some people might be like, how the hell could Sophie leave her mother behind like that? But like, she's a teenager now. She's resentful of having to essentially take care of this woman her entire life. And I think it's pretty natural for her to want to branch out and live her own life. And that might be a little selfish, but it's very realistic behavior. Finally, we get more stuff with Ben and that woman Rita. Or is that her name, Rita? No, Ruth. I think her name is Ruth. I was wrong before. There's definitely like feelings between the two of them, which is a little weird. They've kind of dropped the whole Sophie Ben angle of it, which maybe they'll pick it up again. But they're very much hinting that Ben is attracted to Ruth, which she's not an ugly woman by any means. Just the fact that she's older is just. You would think that they wouldn't want to have their main character. They'd want him with someone more age appropriate. But I'll also say this: the show's not really been following Ben for a lot of it. Like we get a little bit of his story here and there, but the past like 3 episodes have really, he's not been the lead of those. It's very much been the other characters. And Ben's taken a back seat. But I think we will see more Ben stuff coming up here because he used his powers to heal Gabriel's arm after they got into a fight over his mother. And Lodz, the bearded lady, noticed it, told Lodz. He hits the bearded lady at the end of the episode. Wasn't exactly sure why. I think it's just kind of reinforcing that, like, yeah, there's something very sinister about Lodz. He's not a good guy. I think Ben's very right to be wary of him. But the fact that Ben was willing to use his powers like this is a hint that the magical side of it's going to ramp up here. Hopefully. I mean, we're more than halfway through the season. I don't know how many episodes this season has, but we're through a lot of it, and we haven't gotten to see too much of the magical side of it. But I imagine as it goes on, we're going to get more of that stuff. So, an interesting episode overall. Very character rich for the Dreyfus family, especially. But I'm hoping we get some more Ben stories here because I'm like, what is this show about? On one level, it's about the carnival and the various types of people who live there. But the larger plot, it feels like that's been moving very slowly, especially in how we're going to connect it to Justin's story. And I'm like, okay, we can maybe move things up a little bit quicker here, guys. We can get to that point more. But who knows? We might not even get to it this season. I know there's a second season. It doesn't go beyond that. I think it was canceled. But who knows? This show might end on a very obnoxious cliffhanger that's going to have me being like, what the hell happened? But we'll see. So anyway, thanks for watching this, and we'll talk at the next episode. Hey, what's up everyone? Kino here, back with another Carnivàle reaction. Just watched the 8th episode of the first season, and don't remember what this one was called either. But, again, not really a plot-heavy episode. Little tidbits here and there. But the same kind of thing as last episode. We're really continuing on with like the focus on the Dreyfus family, which I appreciate that they're taking longer with this family. Like I expected, like, okay, the episode after their daughter's death, is going to focus on them, but then once we're done with that, it'll move on and we'll focus on some other carnies. But it's still staying with them for a large chunk of it, and still staying with like Sophie and Libby. This is an interesting one because Sophie ends up being recruited by Rita to be a dancer. But there's some guy who's like touching her during the dance. Jonesy flips out, beats the guy. Um, and then Jonesy ends up having sex with Rita because, well, Rita's trying to like reconnect with her husband, and like she wants to have sex with her husband, but he doesn't really want to have sex with her. I think that he's still kind of processing and like being traumatized by like what happened to their daughter. I mean, it's a strange position for him to be in, essentially kind of pimping out his wife and daughter. I mean, not really. In many ways, Rita is the one who's like the much more dominant one in the relationship, but essentially being in that role, I'm sure, is very weird, and like, he doesn't want to be with her right now. So he gets Jonesy to sleep with her. We'll see how this affects the characters, if there's going to be some kind of lingering feelings, or is there going to be any kind of conflict over this, or is it going to be like a one and done deal? I really don't know at this point, but um I think Rita is trying to reconnect with her family in her own way, although her way is a very weird way, because it's involves this naked dancing and prostitution and stuff like that. So who knows? She might turn to Jonesy instead. It seemed like there was a lot of passion between the two. Um, Jonesy's is someone who we haven't learned too much about, although we've seen a flashback where he gets his leg beaten, and so he's in many ways kind of traumatized too. And her kissing the injury at the end was very much like like someone finally accepting him and like treating him with affection. He's been interested in Sophie for a long time. Um, and at the end of the episode, Rita did kind of tell Sophie like, "Hey, you're lucky to have some guy who's interested in you like this." Again, I felt like for the longest time they were setting up her and Ben. They're more age appropriate. But again, Ben's been noticeably very absent from a lot of the storyline. Like, again, he's always kind of on his own, doing his own little adventure. This time he's sent by Samson to go recruit a lobster girl, although he's sent to go recruit a scorpion boy, a guy with like apparently has claws instead of hands, but it turns out there is no scorpion boy. It's a lobster girl. She just has two fingers each. Gets scammed by this guy, like another carnival recruiter who knows Samson's revealed at the end of the episode. And it's also revealed that this guy is part of like, I think it's like the Knights Templar Order or something. When Ben touches his hand, he has these visions of like the Templars in France. I think it's related to like the fall of the Knights Templar. And then we see at the end that Samson has a thing from Hank Scudder that shows that he was also in the Templars. I don't know if it's the Templar specifically, but I think it's that. Again, we're getting little pieces of stuff here and there, but I don't know. He doesn't really feel like we're advancing Ben's character story a lot. He's just kind of along for the ride. Other characters are interested in him, and they're interested in like his powers and stuff, but I don't feel like he's really been developing relationships with a lot of the other characters. To a certain extent, like Ruth, like he a little bit. At the beginning, it felt like he was establishing some kind of relationship with Sophie, like even if it's just friendship. But he's noticeably been very absent from a lot of the other characters, and it's given room for Sophie to have like a friendship with Libby and stuff like that. But like, I feel like there was a natural momentum with the two of them being like very much outsiders that has kind of ground to a halt in this season. So we'll see if it picks back up. We also have a storyline with Justin in he's in a mental asylum, basically being tortured. Like the 1930s psychology is like not very good. But it does feel like it's according to his plan. At first I wasn't sure if like it was or not, but he seems to be very much aware of who he is now. He says he's the left hand of God, which even the psychiatrist is like, does that mean you're Jesus or Satan? And he's like, neither. Um, so I don't know if it's literal that he's like the devil. Like I assume that he's the darkness that they talked about at the beginning, but it might not be literally like God is good and the devil is bad, because we also finally hear from management this episode, this mysterious invisible management, who's been guiding the carnival. We finally hear the voice, and the voice is like demonic. It does not sound good. Again, I don't know if that's the way they're gonna go down, but like, um, you figured that like, oh, Ben's on the side of like good, his power's on the side of good, and Justin's are on the side of evil, but who knows? Maybe all the powers are evil. Like, it's a very dark power, and so management. I think I'm right to be very suspicious of management, and like, and the fact also that Lods was like talking to management, and Lods is a very sinister character. But we'll let's see where it goes. I think I'm gonna watch more episodes more quickly. I've been watching one a day because I was like, man, this is a show I want to sit with for a while. But especially as the episodes have gone on, I found myself wanting to like get through it quicker. Like, okay, are we gonna get to like the good parts here? Not to say that not to say that there's not like good character stuff. There is with like the Dreyfus family. But I just felt that like the show is caught between this weird place where it's like there's the mystery plot angle and then there's the character angle. And I felt like the character angle has been kind of shorted through a lot of this, and it's been a lot more focus on the mystery side, but not actually like advancing that storyline quickly enough. So we'll see. It might come together in this really beautiful way here. I'm probably gonna watch another episode here and get back to you guys, but yeah, we'll see where it goes. So for now, thanks for listening to this, and stay tuned for the next one coming up here. All right, back with another reaction. I just immediately watched the next episode. I'm probably gonna watch at least a couple more tonight. Probably finish off the season tonight because I just want to kind of reach that point. But this next episode, again, I don't remember the title. I don't even know if I saw it. But this episode does feel like it's advancing, at least partially. Again, not to a huge extent, but definitely feels like we've got the focus back on like Ben and like what's going on with his powers, and to a lesser extent the priest. But we get direct confirmation in this episode. Hank Scudder is his father. We've all suspected it before now, but yeah, Hank Scudder is his father. He left the mother for some reason, although it doesn't seem like he wanted to. And he was a part of the Knight Templar Order thing, just like the other guy was. And when Ben touched the ring before, he had a vision of like the Templars or something. In like, I don't know if it was medieval. It kind of looked medieval, but it might have been during the same time period as like the World War I stuff. So maybe it was like, maybe they're just dressing up like in their old costumes or whatever. There might be some kind of like larger like Knights Templar conspiracy, and I don't know again if it's Knights Templar. It might be some other kind of order like that, like the Freemasons or something. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like it's related to them. And again, the Knights Templar have all this kind of mystic, like the curse of the Knights Templar type thing associated with them. So I could see how they would connect it to this. But in this episode, they hand Lods the item. This is the first time we ever see his little show he does at the carnival. But yeah, he has a vision the same as Ben does, and Samson is outright saying like, don't trust Lods, which is interesting because they have this little rivalry going on over the management. The management's been talking to Lods more lately instead of Samson. So Samson's feeling very threatened, his position in the carnival, I think. By the way, I also realized this show does not get the credit it deserves for having a, I don't know what the correct terminology is. I've said like dwarf before. I've said short person, small person. So forgive me, I don't know the correct terminology, but for having a person like this in a very prominent role. Like everyone credits Game of Thrones for Tyrion, and it's very progressive presentation of a person with dwarfism in a lead like this in a very respectable position. Carnival doesn't get the credit. This came out way before Game of Thrones. And the character of Samson is treated with respect. Like he's the leader of the carnival, at least in terms of like the people side of it. Given very prominent stories, and it's like obviously he's not the main character, but yeah, I mean everyone gives credit to Game of Thrones for this, but this show did it way before then, so good for them. But I mean, Carnival's been forgotten. Like I'm 100% gonna do a retrospective on it. I might do it immediately after I finish the series. I might start working on that because it's a very interesting show that like I've said before that like Rome is kind of forgotten, but like this show, I have never heard anyone really talk about it aside from the few people who've recommended it to me, and it's only been like a couple of people in the comments, been like two or three comments have ever said like watch Carnival. But it's really good, and I actually am really into it. So again, thank you to all the people who recommended it to me. We get some more stuff with the priest. He's definitely has some kind of plan going. What it is, I don't know. He's been on the back burner. Like as much as I've said that, like Ben's been on the back burner for a lot of these episodes. The priest has like we've not really gotten a lot of insight into him. Like yes, we got the reveal of him being Russian, but what he's actually headed towards, like he's amassing followers through the radio, which I guess he kind of manipulated that reporter guy into doing a story on him. Don't know what the deal is with that. I mean, the reporter kisses the sister and she gets all mad about it this episode. Don't know where that's going. I don't know if this how much the sister is really involved in any of this type of stuff, but we'll have to see. Um, the biggest actually thing we got going on was stuff with Sophie and Jonesy. So Sophie kissed Jonesy in this episode, and I was like, oh, that's nice. But at the same time, at the end of the episode, he goes to sleep with. He doesn't do it intentionally. He goes there to be like, hey, we can't do this again. And she's like, yeah, I agree, we can't do this again. And then they immediately have sex. So I think people are gonna find out. It's gonna hurt Jonesy's relationship with Sophie. It's gonna hurt Rita's relationship with Stumpy. Um, this is just some regular character drama stuff going on here. But we also get some stuff with Sophie's. We get a revelation about who her father was this episode, and it turns out it's the guy from the very first episode. That scene we saw that didn't make sense of a guy with like tattoos running through a cornfield. We don't know who this guy is, but apparently he raped Sophie's mom. So again, it's dark. Like it's Sophie has a very sad life. Um, don't know what this means in terms of like the larger what this means for like the mother's care, like powers and stuff like that. Is it implied that Sophie might be psychic like her mom and she might be getting powers like that? I don't know if it was the cause of her powers. Like somehow this resulted in her having powers. Like the guy who did it seems like crazy, and I don't know if it's like hinted that it's someone we know. It's hard for me to sometimes tell characters apart. So if it's like, no, that guy is another character who you saw before, or it's Hank Scudder or something. It's like I don't. It's hard for me to tell. So if that's what they're going for, I don't know it, but it's not clear yet what it means for the mother's psychic powers, but I'm sure we're gonna get more information about that. So even though this felt more like a return to form of like, okay, we're moving the story forward and we're also moving the characters forward at the same time. It felt like we've been lacking that for the last few episodes, but it feels like we've gotten back to this one. And I really like this episode, so I'm gonna probably eat some dinner here, continue watching the episodes, and probably finish it off tonight. So we'll talk soon, and after I watch the next episode. So see you guys then. All right, back with another reaction. Just watched the it was the 10th episode. No, Yeah, I think it's the 10th episode. It's hard to keep track of the numbers, but just watch the 10th episode, Hot and Bothered. Um, we're ramping things up little by little, but the end of this episode definitely suggests that, like, oh shit, stuff is about to pop off here. And there's only 2 more episodes left in the season, so they're really gonna get to it. It actually, this episode is weird. So it has a lot of not plot related stuff happening, um, just usual carnival and character stuff happening, but also some plot stuff when it comes to the magical side of things. So they're in New Mexico. They go into town. Uh, Ben and Samson. Oh, so Samson gets kicked out of the management trailer because I think management knows he's trying to interfere with Lodst manipulating Ben, and so he's kind of demoted a little bit, and that obviously, that sucks for him. He takes Ben into town, and they find the Order of the Templars that that the dad was a part of. And when they get there, it's like nothing weird. It's like it's just a normal like organization. They're just playing cards or whatever. There's almost anticlimactic how like you're like, oh, they found this place, and it's like there's nothing there. But there's hints that there is actually something going on, because there's a mural on the wall that shows that guy who's chasing Ben in his dreams, the one who assaulted Sophie's mother and is probably her father. Don't know who he is. Again, if it's supposed to be Scudder, I don't know, or maybe it's a demon or something. Really don't know. The Meanwhile, Sophie goes into town with Jonesy on like a little date, because they're together, sort of. And there's a weird moment where one of the Templar guys, who again was acting normal with Ben and Samson, says to her, all profits in her house, which is different than what we heard before, where it was all profits in his house, suggesting that Sophie is a prophet, or maybe she's got powers too, sort of like, because last time we heard that it was Justin and Ben in the coffee house, but now to say in her house implies that Sophie might be part of this chosen one thing. She has been having more visions, more like visceral stuff. It's she says it's from her mother, but maybe she has some powers in her own right too. Who knows? So that's interesting. We get some stuff with the Dreyfuses again. Rita is banging Jonesy. Stumpy bangs this Mexican chick, and then she's recruited to be another dancer. Um, just normal, like just drama stuff. Nothing related to the plot. But Ben also has sex with Ruth, which is like, okay. I mean, I guess he just has a thing for her. There's nothing wrong with like a guy being with an older woman, but it strikes me as very like maternal. Like the reason like he was even in her trailer was like, she's like, I'll take care of you, I'll watch out for you like a mother would, which you can read the Oedipal notes there, but there's a lot of weird sexual stuff going on in a lot of this series. But Lots ends up reading his dream, and then Scudder ends up talking to him in Ben's dream, basically being like, he's mine. And then Lots goes to talk to management, and management's like, don't worry about it, he'll be ours, we'll find him eventually. So they're looking for Scudder. Samson confirms that management wasn't always in charge of the carnival. Like he bought out the company. And he's been looking for Scudder ever since because of some kind of personal animosity. He might be the other person in the dreams that Ben's been having in World War One, because he said it happened in the old country. So, seems like it could be something related to that. Again, really don't know, but management seems very sinister. So. We'll have to see, but I'm just gonna keep watching. I'm gonna finish out, if I can, the season tonight. So I'll report back to you guys with more reactions soon. So talk to you then. All right, just watched the penultimate episode of season 1, and I want to record this pretty quick because it's getting late and I have to watch the final one before bed. So I want to get this one over quick, but a lot of revelations happen. Um, Sophie learns about Jonesy has been sleeping with Rita. The mother tells her because of Stumpy goes for like a card reading. Um, Rita and Jonesy like kind of break up because Jonesy wants to give it a chance with Sophie. And she wants to too for once, but Rita gets jealous. She also gets jealous of the new girl who's like the dancer for getting the attention, so she kind of steals the show. Um, and then Ben, a couple of things happen with Ben. So one, he admits to Samson that like he's been dreaming about Scudder and wants to know what he knows, but Samson doesn't really know anything, but he warns him like something bad's gonna happen soon. Um, Meanwhile, Lods has been scheming, and he has this plan to poison Rita. So he gets like a snake to bite her. And the plan, I think, is to force Ben to use his powers. And at the end of the episode, Ben takes Rita out, to middle of nowhere to try to heal her, but he can't. And I think the reason why is because there's not like a sacrifice nearby powerful enough. Like when he healed the little girl's crippled legs, it destroyed a field of crops, and then when he healed Gabriel's broken arm, it killed a bunch of fish, and those weren't life or death stuff. That was just minor healing. So in order to bring someone back who's on the brink of death like this, I think it takes a real sacrifice, and I think that's why it didn't work. I was worried that someone was going to show up and die basically during the sacrifice, but I think the whole thing was to force Ben to kind of realize that he needs mentorship over his powers, which is what management and Lods both want. And they also want to get to Scudder. So we'll see what happens there. We also get some revelations about Justin. I was right. The sister did burn the church down. She's been manipulating Justin their whole life, getting him ready for his role. I don't know what's her deal is. They end up kissing, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure where they're gonna go with this plot line. My wife is thinking that she's management, because the management, when we hear the voice, it has a kind of female sound to it. So maybe the sister is management. I don't know. But definitely things are going to come to a head in this final episode. I don't know if Justin is going to meet, but he is going on a crusade. I mean, last episode, I don't remember if I mentioned this or not. But he's whipping up his followers into a fervor. He's like, no more studying the Bible. It's time for fire and blood. Or he says blood and fire, which is funny because this predates Game of Thrones. But, he's like, we're going to go on a crusade and we're going to destroy the wicked and stuff like that. So he's definitely whipping up his followers. Even the other priest guy who's like a father to him is like getting concerned, especially when he baptizes him. And it turns into blood right there. So a lot of crazy shit happening. I'm just gonna go watch the next one. I know I'm cutting this one short, but I really want to get this final episode done before bed. So I'll watch the next one, and then we'll talk about the whole season as a whole. So talk to you then. All right, damn, what a finale. It ends on this very big cliffhanger. I will say I don't love cliffhanger type endings like this, but it's something. Like, it is definitely something. God, I'm even trying. That's the thing about finales so much, is I think about the final moments so much that I have a hard time remembering everything else that happened. But Ben meets with the management person. We still don't know who they are. They're smoking a cigarette. I don't know if that's a clue. A lot of these characters smoke cigarettes. But management tells him that, of course, he's got to sacrifice another life in order to bring Ruth back. So that's something Ben struggles with throughout the episode. He at one point he's thinking about killing this random like drunkard who doesn't have anything to offer, can't do it. Tries to kill himself to sacrifice himself, but Henry Scudder shows up in a dream kind of thing. It doesn't. I mean, he just disappears, but he's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You can't kill yourself. You have to. It's a choice you have to make. So we don't get any definitive answers about Scudder. But at the end, he says he's not going to do it. But then management reveals that it was Lods who killed Ruthie. So of course he kills Lods in revenge. Not necessarily. I don't think intending to sacrifice him per se, but like just so angry that he kills him, and that brings Ruthie back at the very end. So good. I'm glad Lods is the one who got it. Obviously, he's been a very malicious presence throughout most of the show. I wonder if it would have made more sense though to have Ben maybe trust him, and then it would have been this big like wool over your eyes kind of moment where he realizes that his mentor has been evil this whole time. So, but he distrusts Lods from the very beginning. So, kind of a missed opportunity there, and that's one of the things I'm thinking of this whole season. There's some missed opportunities for like really strong like carry. Now that I know where the season ends, and obviously we have another season to go, but knowing that this is the course they were going to take, I wonder about where some of the focus has been all throughout, because we don't even get this kind of motif or like recurring theme of like a difficult choice that has to be made throughout most of the show. It would be interesting if Ben had been increasingly put in situations where he had to make a choice with his powers or use his powers or demonstrate the consequences. The only time he's used it so far has been very benign situations, and like I wonder if like when he's trapped in the mine, he has to use his powers to get out, and maybe that hurts someone, and maybe that inadvertently causes whatever happened with Dora May. So my whole point with this is that like, okay, if this is where we're going, we could have reinforced that throughout the season with some more interesting character stuff. I felt like a lot of stuff didn't pay off as much as I would have liked to. Like, we've gotten a lot of focus on the Dreyfus family and their like complicated affair, and that affair is stretched to other characters like Sophie. But I don't know if it really amounted to like what was the point of all of this? What was it trying to say about people? It just, looking at where the season ends, it kind of feels like drama for drama's sake. Now, Sophie's an interesting storyline. So, you know, at first I thought she was going to end up with Ben because they had a bunch of scenes together in the beginning. But then at some point it shifts and she pretty much has all her scenes with Libby. And then they start setting up that there's feelings between the two of them. But damn, at the end of here, Sophie does something really mean, which is she sleeps with Libby to get revenge on Jonesy, who's been sleeping with Rita, and we saw that coming for a long time, but also to get revenge on Libby because she knows that Libby knew about Jonesy and didn't tell her, and she essentially broke her heart too. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, I mean, it's a little shitty your friend didn't tell you that, but it's her mom, and like, you know, she warned you that like not to trust men or whatever, and I don't know, it just is kind of really mean spirited and weird for her to do that. Like just talk to your friend and be like, hey, why did you do, why do you, maybe that's just Sophie's character. Maybe she's this fundamentally selfish person. But yeah, I was like, why would you hurt this girl who likes you? I mean, I get you're mad at her, but like, it feels weird for you to like kind of break her heart like this too. So, I don't know, just a mean spirited thing for her to do. And we end on this big cliffhanger whether she's dead or not, because the mom like traps her in their little RV and lights the thing on fire. And we get some dialogue between the mother and Lods. Basically, she tells Lods that it's Sophie who I don't is she the Antichrist? Because there was this whole thing at the end where when we saw the thing burning, Justin's giving a speech in his church about the Antichrist walks among us, and and the mom was saying like it's her, and the whole thing about all the prophets in her house, and it's like, yeah, maybe Sophie's like a bad person, but if that's the case, we've not really been developing that. Like, we've gotten some storylines with Sophie, but not characterizing her this negatively. Like, we've not seen like seeds of evil in her or something. It's just been she's just been a normal girl kind of going through this, and I thought that her storyline was more so just being like, here's how the lives of carnies work. But yeah, if we're gonna go down the route of having her be evil somehow or have magical powers, we've not been developing that either. So I don't know if that's the route they're going down, but it seems like there's something special going on with Sophie that I wonder what it's going to add up to. We get more stuff with Justin this episode. Flashback to his childhood with the priest. He realizes he's a demon. I don't know if that's literal or metaphorical, but he wants the priest to kill him. The priest doesn't. He has these weird eyes at the end. I don't. Again, maybe he's a demon. This might all amount to like really biblical stuff. I don't know how much of the biblical stuff is like literal or it's just a metaphorical kind of thing. But obviously, Justin's ramping up his religious army. I would have liked like, damn, or like, it would have been cool if they could even have like met or gotten close to each other. But like, there's no interaction at all between Ben and Justin throughout this entire season. And maybe they were going to do that later on. Maybe they'll do it next season. Maybe they had larger plans that just didn't pan out. But yeah, for as interesting as this show has been, and it's been very interesting, and a lot of rich character stuff too. But for what it is, it's like a lot of setup for not a lot of payoff. And I feel like we could have had a much more tighter, cohesive, character-driven story if we had maybe simplified some stuff, left out a lot of this crazy imagery that just keeps getting repeated over and over again. Like, I almost think the imagery is like not worth it. Like, we could have devoted this time to exploring some of these other carnies too, like the Lizard Man, the conjoined twins, any of these other people who it's like we've learned almost nothing about these folks. And again, maybe they'll do that more next season, but like if you want to have like a rich character driven story, let's focus on that more. If you want to have a plot about magic and spirituality and stuff, let's have more of that, but let's pay it off more. I feel like a lot of the crazy imagery was just wasted time, at least for this finale. Again, maybe it pays off next season, or they were going to pay it off, but the show got canceled. But yeah, it's like we could have cut to the chase a lot quicker, and I think been better off for it if the show had a little bit more focus on these important beats rather than a lot of just wasted time just wandering around exploring crazy imagery, which I don't know, maybe that's the point of the show. But yeah, I wasn't. Again, I really like this show. I like this season. I want to keep watching this. It's interesting, but if this is a sign for how they do the show, I'm not surprised the show got canceled. It's like we could have really nailed some of this stuff better if the show had more of a focus and less kind of just wandering all over the place. But I'll reserve judgment until we watch the second season. I'm going to watch that pretty much starting tomorrow. It's getting late here, but I will watch that next season. We'll record more reactions, and then I'm almost sure I'm going to do a retrospective on this. I know it's already quick, but like, This is a show I don't think a lot of people know about, so they'll expect some sort of video essay on Kino Studios coming up pretty soon after I finish this. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this, and stay tuned for next season coming soon.